Six-finger learning is a process. It's a process of just a few steps. But those steps can be difficult for some people, mostly because they've never done them before. The first step is what we call psychic douche. In this step, a person is supposed to mindfully wash away all of their thoughts and perceptions that they have accumulated from those that have come before them. Most of those perceptions come from your parents. But when you start looking at it, you start seeing that really a lot of these perceptions come from people that are dead. People who shape the perceptions of your parents. We go through this process without thinking about it. We go through this process unconsciously. That's why it's so difficult to clean it off. It's difficult to start seeing what is your perception of things versus what has been taught to you that you have just accepted as truth. Now, after that first step, you've cleaned things off. You start taking a look at something. We're looking at education, but you can look at anything. You can look at business, you can look at friends, you can look at families. It doesn't matter what it is. You look at it and you start looking at it for what you see. You turn it around. You use your hands, you use your eyes, use every sense that you can, but it's yours. It's your perception. Now, if during this process you see the same things that the people before you saw, of course, take it as truth. It isn't that we believe that the perceptions of others before us are wrong. We believe that mindlessly accepting those perceptions is wrong. So when you go through that process and you see things for what they are, a lot of the times you'll see it's not the way it ought to be. You start thinking, is there a better way? That leads us to the next step of six-finger learning, which is demanding more. Showing people, look at what I see. This is how I see it. This is how I view it. My perceptions matter. I've considered your perceptions. This needs to change. As I've mentioned, all these steps are pretty difficult for some people. It's like muscles that have never been exercised. But once you start exercising your muscles in all of these different ways, we can show you again and again and again where you can make a change, where you can get more. You can sit back and think, there's no way I can make a change. No one will listen to me. I don't have the power to do anything to change what I'm going through. All the rules are stacked against me. All of the authority will do what they want and they'll punish me. Well, that's because that's what you've been taught. No one has showed you how to demand more or how to make a change. We, in six-finger learning, know that the only way to change that system that you've described, change the system with all these rules and all these people that are so entrenched that you feel like it's impossible to make any difference at all, is to change their environment. It's the evolutionary principles of if you can't change the genetics, if you can't change the rules, if you can't change the people, well, change their environment. Because if you could change their environment, you dictate everything. Because if the genetics don't change and the environment changes, those genetics go extinct. How do we change the environment? Well, we have hundreds of ways that you can change your environment. Literally. And I couldn't be happier than show you each and every one of them in detail. So let's get started.
You're listening to Six Finger Learning with Jason Free.
Hey kids, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are, wherever you are. I appreciate that you're here. Well, I just have to say that I'm super excited. This is where I get to start really unveiling some cool shit for you. Not just me blathering on and on and on about how things are all fucked up and they need to change. I'm going to start talking to you about how you can actually make change happen. And I'm not just talking about stuff that we think of. We have done a lot of research. We have done tons of research over the last several years on how to affect change. And we have pulled from a variety of different fields. And today I'm going to be introducing you to just one person, Gene Sharp. Gene Sharp was a political scientist who specialized in nonviolent action. He was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He was a professor at the UMass Dartmouth campus. He was the founder of the Albert Einstein Institution, which the whole foundation for that is how to help citizens affect change within their political environment through nonviolent action. Now, before we move a lot further on this, I just want to make certain that, a lot of people, when they think nonviolent action, again, because we accumulate the perceptions of others around us, we've been taught that nonviolent action is basically passive. It's very, very weak. And nothing could be further from the truth. It takes real balls to do these things, which is why it's so hard to do, which is why oftentimes most people don't even think about doing these things unless it is a matter of life and death, unless they are being hunted down by their government or by rebels or whatever else, because that's where these principles came from. These principles came from how have citizens affected change at that level through nonviolent actions. So just imagine using these tools within an academic context. That's what we're talking about doing. Using these, and that's what these are. These are just tools. All right, it's just a list of tools. It's 198 tools. It's divided into different sections. We'll kind of go over that in a little bit. But the tools are just tools. You have to know how to use the tools, and you have to be intelligent about the art. In this instance, it's affecting change, but I'll keep using the art metaphor more literally, which is these tools. Which of these tools are best for rock or stone or for wood? Or for, metal. Which of these tools should I use and which tools should I not use? Because one of the tools in this toolkit, in this 198 list of things that people can do to affect change, would be protest. It's a tool. And we would argue that the vast majority of the times that this tool is used in America specifically, and even more specifically within an academic context, it's used poorly. It's just literally and figuratively bashing shit. Just bam, 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 bam. I mean, you're not affecting change. You're not doing what you have said you want to accomplish, which is to affect change. That, hey, there's these people out there that think a certain way, and I am going to go out into the street, and when I do that, what I do is going to flip a switch in their head to make them go, oh, shit, I was wrong. Oh, fuck, man. I didn't think that way. You changed that. How many times does that actually happen in American protest and in American academic protests? It really doesn't hardly happen at all. It more just entrenches both sides into their thoughts. It's not very fucking persuasive. Look at those people that I didn't like to begin with, and look at how fucked up they are, blah, blah, blah. Hey, look at those people. They don't give a shit. We're presenting them this problem, and they're just being blind to it, and they don't care. That's what they've always felt. You're just using the tools the wrong way. And you also need to understand that there should be a progression. There should be a progression. We will always say that if you have a problem, go through the process if they have a process. File a complaint. Submit a report. Go to a hearing. Do whatever you need to do. Because believe it or not, a lot of times that actually fucking works. It's just that we've just learned, that's a hassle. They won't listen. That won't change. Or we're just really just fucking lazy. And obviously the problem isn't that big of a deal because it doesn't motivate us to get off our asses to do what they have said. Hey, if you have a problem, do these things. It's when you do what they say to address the problems and the problems aren't addressed that you start looking at these tools and you start thinking about how to use these tools. And also, before we get a whole lot more in depth than this is not about petty bullshit. This is not about parking spaces. This is not about cafeteria items. This is not about anything stupid like that at all. This is about, what the fuck are you teaching me? What's the value of this? And if I'm paying for it, what's the ROI? What's the return on the investment on this? Or it's about, hey, I'm paying you to teach me, but what else are you doing with that money? You're doing other things with that money. And if you don't understand that colleges take that money and buy stocks and fund all kinds of shit, then again, you need to educate yourself. You need to really look into this and not just blindly think, oh, colleges and universities, you just pay them money and they use all that money to teach people. Oh, no. They're doing all kinds of shit with your fucking money. Okay. Also, how do they treat, okay, so I'm paying all of you for all of this. Well, how do you treat your workers? How do you treat the cafeteria workers? I don't give a shit about what's on the fucking menu. How do you treat the cafeteria workers? How do you treat the custodial staff? How do you treat the secretaries? How do you treat the professors? How do you treat all these people? All of these different circumstances and whatnot, they are valid and they are very much worthy of consideration of implementing these tools. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these. I want to so badly. Hopefully you're looking at this document right now as I'm speaking. The link is with the podcast, but it's the 198 Methods of Nonviolent Action from the Albert Einstein Institute from Gene Sharp. And he has it divided. He has his tools divided into different sections, and they have different subsections. And as you go through them, 1 through 198, each section tends to get a little bit more invasive. He has the first area being methods of nonviolent protest and persuasion. And he has 10 subsections for that, 54 different line items. It's fucking awesome. It's just absolutely amazing. Then he has another section of methods of Then he has a section, methods of social non-cooperation. And you're going to hear a lot from us about non-cooperation. Non-cooperation is so fucking effective. We just don't realize it. We don't see that it's feasible. We don't see that it's realistic, but it is realistic. I'll talk about it from an unrealistic perspective in your head. What you would see is unrealistic, just to kind of make my point. We're going to apply this to the legal system. If everybody right now sitting a defendant waiting for trial said, yeah, I want to go to trial. If every single one of them did that and did not take a plea bargain, did not take a deal, the judicial system would just collapse underneath itself. There is no way that they would be able to handle all of those trials, all of those hearings. They wouldn't be able to handle it from a logistic perspective. They wouldn't be able to handle it from a financial perspective. So if we just stopped cooperating with this plea bargaining, just everybody, and not even everybody, just enough people, it would fuck shit up. And it would fuck shit up to such a degree where the judicial system would have to change. That's what we're talking about. Whether you believe it or not, in terms of, well, how would everybody actually do that? Jason, people have to take plea bargains. They're facing incredibly expensive court costs that they can't afford. They might be facing a prosecutor who really wants to throw the book at them and it's going to ruin their lives and all these things. And if they take the plea deal, it's obviously the better route. I get that. I'm saying if enough people said, fuck you, we're going to go through your system, and we're going to see what fucking happens, and we all know that it would all just fall under, that's a realistic alternative. It's just a matter of how do you get all those people to do that, or how would you get enough people to do that to affect change? Well, we're not trying to change the legal system. We're trying to change the academic system. And we're not even trying to change like necessarily the entire academic system. We're trying to change one classroom at a time, maybe one school at a time, maybe one university at a time, maybe, and kind of roll with that. So how would this non-cooperation, I'm sorry, I can't, I have to, it's a sickness. I have to talk a little bit about this non-cooperation thing and how would it be applied to an academic setting? Okay. So let's just hypothetically talk about a school where, I'll just go stereotypical here. Sorry, I know this is wrong. I don't care. I'm trying to make a point. Let's say the football players are beating up the gay kids. And let's say that the administrators aren't doing anything about it. That's a situation. It's just a hypothetical situation, grossly overly generalized. But I'm trying to make a point here. And let's say that the students obviously felt that this was wrong and they wanted to do something about it. The first thing that they should do is that they should go to the school boards, or they should submit reports or complaints. They should go through the processes. They should get all that done. And if nothing happens there, then what they should do is just stop cooperating with education. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean not go to school? No, that doesn't mean not go to school. Good, because I'd get in trouble for that. Again, that's like the first thing that comes into people's heads. I'm going to get in trouble. This is going to fuck me up. I have to take the plea bargain. I have to do that. It's just this fear that's just put into your head that I have to go along with this bullshit. And we think that is very insidious, because not only does that not change the problem of what's going on in the school, it teaches the kids that they can't fucking make things happen. It teaches them that they're impotent. It teaches them that they're ineffectual. It teaches them to be fucking cogs. It teaches them to just blindly follow the fucking rules. And that's the only option you got, or trouble. But let's go back to our fictitious high school where the jocks are beating up the gay kids and the administrators aren't doing anything about it. And we have gone through the process. This is bullshit. We filed this, we talked there, we did that. Hell, we even had a walkout. That's one of the things. That's that is number 51 underneath nonviolent protest and persuasion, walkouts. Number 51, withdrawal and renunciation. So you do a walkout. So you're actually dipping into some of Gene's toolbox here, right? Well, let's escalate it. Let's move it over, okay? Because as I said, each section gets a little bit more invasive. Let's go into non-cooperation. Walking out is non-cooperation, but I'm talking about non-cooperation on a greater level, which would be something along the lines of organizing, again, enough people, whatever that number would be, to where, let's say that you're sitting in geometry class, and you're at the school and all this shit's going on, and you're in geometry and you're learning the fucking, hypotenuses and all that shit, right? Well, what you do is you raise your hand and you say, I'm sorry, how does this stop people from being beaten up at my school. Now your teacher's going to say, what? And your teacher's going to say, Jason, stop this. It's like, no, seriously. How? Because that's the only thing I can think about. I can't think about your lesson. I can't think about any of this. And if you have other people in class raise their hand, yeah, you know what? I can't think about your lesson. All this stuff is so important. Oh my God, this geometry is so fucking important. I know it's going to be important to me throughout the rest of my life. I know I'm going to have to know how to do all this shit with, volumes of spheres and shit and everything else is so fucking important, but I can't think. I can't think because I'm so worried about this stuff happening. And another person raised their hand, yeah, I can't think either. How, I can't think about this. What is that teacher going to do? Now, if there's one or two of you doing this, sit down, shut up, go to the office. If, let's just be crazy, all of you do it, class is done. Class is over. And whenever someone from outside that classroom gets introduced into the problem because a student goes to an official or a teacher goes to an official or a parent finds out about it, it's going to be, what's the problem here? Oh, the problem here is that kids are getting beaten up at school and it's fucking with my head. You have to make your thing the thing. Oh, no, geometry is really fucking important, but I can't think about it. Oh, shit, that history class? That's really fucking important shit, Mom. Yeah, I agree, but I can't think about it. 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 You guys have to help me. You guys have to change this. Stop making it something where you're making demands of, hey, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and make it about, I can't do what you want me to do. I'm sorry. No, I do think about it. I do think about it. Look at him. He's the one who got beaten up. Look at her. She's the one who got beaten up. I'm the one who got beaten up. They're just letting them go through here, but how can I think about this? As soon as the bell rings, I'm going to go out there and me or my friends are like fucking, it's open season on us. You literally just freeze the class. You literally freeze the school. No, I can't be here on time. Why? Because I'm thinking about this. I'm worried about getting beaten up. You just do it again and again and again. Again, it sounds like it wouldn't work, and I'll go into more detail later, but it not only will it work, it has worked. It has worked, and we'll show you where it's worked. Sorry, like I said, I just got off. Let's talk about a lot of these different sections are so fucking cool, but let's talk about the last sections, which is the methods of nonviolent interventions. This is where really people tend to jump to first. And you really shouldn't jump to these first unless you've tried the other ones. Because remember, you're trying to make a change. You're not just trying to point at something to say how fucked up it is. You're not just trying to, throw a fit. You're not just trying to throw a fit. You're trying to make a change. It's kind of like if you want more money from your parents to do something, you just don't go straight to like stealing their fucking money. No, that's a bad example. I'm not going to use that example. I'm having problems here. Let me go over that one more time. I want to go over that one more time. So let's talk about I'm sorry, I just can't resist this. I have to go into a little bit detail on some of these tools. I know that I just wanted to give you an overview, but there's one on here. Let's just go through a scenario here. Let's go through a hypothetical scenario. Let's say that there's a high school and we're going to be super generalized, super stereotypical, super kind of gross, just to make a point. There's this high school, and the jocks are beating up the gay kids, and the administrators just don't do anything about it. Again, just for the sake of argument. What can students do to change that environment? Now, there's a lot of things on here. And a lot of people do these things. You can look at number 51 under withdrawals and renunciation. That's under the methods of nonviolent protest and persuasion section, and that's a walkout. Those are pretty effective. You just get up and you just walk out. Well, the problem with that, though, is you can get in trouble for that. And I want to be careful when I talk about the whole fear of getting in trouble, because getting in trouble is sometimes required. No, I'm not going to do that. But that fear of getting in trouble, oh, fuck. Son of a bitch, I was doing well. Yeah, let's talk about underneath, let's talk about one of those. Oh, God. So we're in this gross hypothetical situation here. What can students do using this toolbox of 198 to make things better, to affect change? To get administrators to change, to maybe even get the jocks to change, to get parents to change, so people give a shit, right? A lot of these things students would be afraid to do because they'd be afraid they'd get in trouble. And that is, if you look at Gene Sharp's work, that's one of the number one things that stands in the way of real change, is this learned fear. You have just learned that if you break the rules, you're going to get in trouble, and you don't want that, because life's more difficult if you break the rules. Life's more difficult if you get in trouble. Just follow the rules. Everything's easier if you just follow the rules. Don't make waves. You don't want things on your record or any of that kind of shit. Like if you do a walkout, which is number 51 on Gene's list under withdrawal and renunciation. It's one of the methods of protest and persuasion. If you do a walkout, if I'm trying to get students to walk out, I'm one of the students, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking at this sheet. One of the things that we can do, guys, is we can walk out. You're going to have a lot of people saying, no, I can't get in trouble. I can't get in trouble. I'll get in trouble. My parents will get pissed. My attendance will get fucked up, and I can't have that. That's why non-cooperation is something that people should consider. And non-cooperation isn't just sitting there doing nothing. Non-cooperation can be jamming up the system. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is you're not following their rules, their processes. You're in geometry class, for example, and you're learning all this really important stuff in geometry. Yeah, really fucking important stuff. Anyway, you're learning all this important stuff in geometry that you're going to use for the rest of your life, of course. And you have this problem going on at your school. You can use that geometry class to affect change. How? Well, you just raise your hand and say, Miss Smith, I'm sorry. The volume of a sphere is very important to me. I understand that. I really wish that I could do this, but I can't because I'm so afraid about me getting beaten up or about my friends getting beaten up. Now, one person does that, nothing's going to happen. 2 or 3 people, probably not. You get enough people. And I'm not talking about just geometry. I'm talking about geometry. I'm talking about your science class, your history class, your Spanish class, whatever the fuck you're in. You just let it be known. I cannot think. I cannot concentrate. I cannot go through this process of listening to you go on and on and on and take your fucking notes and get ready for your fucking test and follow your rules. I'm not cooperating. Now, you're not saying that you're not cooperating. You're not saying, hey, I'm not cooperating. No. You're going to say, I can't think. you're going to get in trouble. Again, it's difficult to get people to get out of that mindset of, oh, I'll get in trouble. I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to cause problems. But if the problem really, really matters, again, we're not talking about we need more, Taco Tuesdays, or we need, seniors should have parking. And we're not talking about this shit. If this shit really matters, you rating. And you'll see a change, because there's no way to move forward and do the same thing. You have to make a change, because it's the only thing that people will talk about. Because you got to be committed to it. You got to stick with it. And that's where these principles come from. These principles come from people who are life and death. And we would say that, yeah, and academics, you're facing life and death a lot of the times, unfortunately. But we're not going to say that everything, but it's your life. It's the quality of your life. It's the value of your life. It's what you're going to get out of your life, and what you're going to give to your kids or the other generations if you don't have kids. Are we moving in a direction where next generations are going to get better and better? Or are they going to get worse and worse? And which generation is going to step up and start doing things and doing them the right way? And what I described with the high school thing, that was pretty heavy. That was pretty, there's some really fun ways of fucking shit up that's on. I mean, there's brutal ways of using a hammer, and there's fun ways of using a hammer. You can have a blast doing a lot of this shit. Opposite of what you have been taught. It's not a situation where, oh shit, I'm going to get in trouble just thinking about, oh shit, my life's going to be ruined if this goes on my record. Like, fuck no, we're going to fuck shit up and have a good time doing it. We're going to make these assholes look like the assholes that they are. Everyone's going to fucking see it. We're going to change things better, and it's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be fun. But you have to know how to do it. You have to know how to use it, when to use it. And that's what we're going to teach you. I've been taught this. I don't know who the hell you other than a political scientist in a political science within the context of political science. I teach as many people, as many students, teachers, as many administrators. Fuck parents. Parents are assholes. Parents are the worst. They're not going to do anything. Otherwise, they would have done something already. We're going to try to get the people who are actually in the system, who give a f***, and show them, you know what you can do? You know what you ought to consider? We're not telling you to do it, because it's ultimately up to you. Are you going to pick up these tools or not? The problem big enough where you're actually going to pick up these tools and do something? Or are you just going to bitch about it and just bitch about it and be, well, I don't want to get in trouble. I can't affect change, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. It's up to you. It's not going to be any more that you do it, because that's our mission. We're going to cleanse your brain. We're going to all this negative, nasty shit that you've accumulated, that you're sexual, and all these scary bad things will happen, and you keep. And when you have your eyes open, you're going to see that shit isn't the way it ought to be, because you deserve more. This is your life. This is for you. I said before, I got my degrees. I'm not doing this shit so that I get more value out of my degrees. I mean, my degrees are bullshit. There's nothing done about it, but you can do something about it, or it doesn't matter that much. Just doesn't matter that much. You don't matter that much, I guess. And you're like, well, when am I supposed to do that? You're supposed to change things. What are you supposed to change? Change the environment. How do I change the environment? Here's a list of 190, and we're going to give you about 500 more. You cannot be willfully ignorant. You can't just And if you are, then you don't deserve this list. Or you deserve the student debt. You deserve the, I'm not prepared for all the career tracks that weren't in existence when I went to school. You deserve the bullshit. Your kids will deserve the bullshit because their parents were too fucking stupid to sit up. I actually see the alternative. I can change the environment and make it happen. What's it going to be? You who won't make the changes, bye-bye. Go, look at prank videos or whatever. Some of those prank videos are actually good, which we'll talk about later. But go spend your time someplace else. You want to affect change? Now you're learning. Now is the time to at, is this the way things should be? Is there more? What's standing in the way and change it? Now I'm going to go out and change it. And then you will start having, and then you'll start exercising the muscles and doing this almost naturally and not just with your academic. And that's what we're here for, and that's why to just we're going to be going into depth, great detail on these tools and sharp, but take a look at them for yourselves. We've introduced them to you. Look at 198 Methods of Nonviolent Action from the Albert Einstein Institution, and then also look at Gene Sharp's There Are Realistic Alternatives. Now remember, he's talking in a political science perspective. He's talking about, hey, you live in Estonia and your government is trying to really fucking ruin your life and limit your abilities and impact your family, dictate, how generations are going to live. How do you affect change? These are ways that you affect change and have effective change. They have made change. They have effectively made change. Sorry. At the beginning, I'm giddy about this. I'm a little out of it. Again, at the beginning, I told you that I'm giddy about this, so I'm kind of all over. I'll get more focused next time and start breaking down some of these and showing you make changes in your school, how you can make things better for you and for your fellow students. You can start getting the value that you deserve out of your education. So until next time, I'm Jay. This is Six Finger Learning. Hope you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, wherever you are.
Here from the learning if